Hello, this is Jess Hay from Creative Cards to You. Thank you so much for joining me today as I do a deep dive dash into this Playful Petals Coverplate Die from Catherine Pooler, where I make 15 cards from 3 techniques. Stick around to the end because the last technique I show you is how to make 2 quick and easy cards using Saran Wrap. To get started, I die cut opaque accent 120 pound weight cardstock with the Playful Petals Coverplate Die. I use these cosmetic spatulas to put the powders from Lindy's magical Drop Dead Diva on the cardstock. I'm also using Tibetan poppy teal. You could also sprinkle the powders on the paper and then die cut it, but that can get your plates messy, so I chose to do it this way. I then sprayed water on the panel and watched the magic happen. I set it aside to dry on this mini drying rack. I love how vibrant these colors are. I adhered this panel of watercolor cardstock with pixie spray and put Steampunk Sepia, Time Travel Teal, Shabby Turbine Teal, and Tibetan Poppy Teal on this panel with a dry watercolor brush. I used the brush to move the powder around too. I was kind of going for a more masculine look this time. I tilted the panel for movement and sprayed more water and set them on the drying racks. I put scraps of cardstock behind this panel and used shakers I had made of autumn maple crimson and Tibetan poppy teal. I also used some manta ray gray. I use scraps of paper to catch the excess and look at the result. For my first card, I put holographic cardstock on the back and a Whoop sentiment from Catherine Pooler on the front. I would use a different background color for the sentiment next time as it blends in too much. For the second card, I mounted this panel with a textured teal cardstock in the back and made this die from the Notable and Quotable sentiments from Catherine Pooler. I die cut the butterfly from her framed wings dies as well. For the third card, I put scraps of cardstock behind the main front panel. The Choose and sentiments are from the Hero Arts February 2024 card kit. The fourth card is again the background print from the Lindy's Magical Powders. I put a sentiment on from Penguin Palace that I already had made. The fifth card is where I cut the panel on an angle and used a piece of glitter cardstock to make it look more finished. I made a flower from the petals and topped it off with a sentiment from Catherine Pooler. The sixth card is a background panel I made by smushing the panel on the leftovers from the Lindy's Magical Powders. I sprayed the leftovers with water and drug the cardstock around to get this look. I put the petals on in a random pattern and topped it off with this dragonfly from Catherine Pooler's Take Flight stamp set that I had already made. Now we're moving into the second technique of using Distress Oxide sprays. I used pixie spray to adhere the accent opaque 120 pound cardstock to a panel. I sprayed on Tim Holtz Seedless Preserves and Antique Linen Distress Oxide sprays, just in a random pattern. I also added water droplets and shook the sprayer handle on for extra splats until I was happy. I blotted the excess off with a paper towel. My next panel was using Tim Holtz Uncharted Mariner, Walnut Stain, and Antique Linen Distressed Oxide sprays for a more masculine feel. Again, I followed the same sequence as before. The last thing to do with all of these fun petals is to spray them with the Hero Arts two-toned shimmer spray. The colors I used were red, orange, green, and blue. I love how playful these are and how you can create more colors by mixing the sprays. Stick around to the end of the video because I show you 2 cards that I make with this panel. To make the 7th card, I use this panel from the Seedless Preserves Oxide Spray. I die cut the frame and butterfly from Catherine Pooler's Framed Wings dies. The sentiments and stamps are from Gina K's Luck and Love stamp set. The 8th card is a strip from the panel that I cut down to make a band at the bottom. I use the Slim Shaker circle dies from Waffle Flower to showcase this CP sentiment. The gems are Ebony Opal from Crafty Meraki. To make the 9th card, I used a panel of scrap cardstock I smushed on the leftovers to go over this embossed background from Gina K. The die is CP's Butterfly Buddies. The dewdrops are from Crafty Meraki. To make the 10th card, I glued this background panel onto a white piece of cardstock I ran through a Gina K Swiss Dots embossing folder. I used these sentiments from Alteneau's Midsummer Bouquet stamp set. Alright, on to the last technique. This is where you cut strips of Saran Wrap and kind of wad them up into little balls. You can do a faux sponge daubing technique and alternate how you place it on the paper so it looks more random. I used Catherine Pooler's Glitz, Cranberry Fizz, and Glam inks to make this background panel. I ran this panel through the die cut machine with the Playful Petals Coverplate Die and set aside the petals. I did a very rough ink blending on my Waffle Flower grip mat with the same 3 colors. I wasn't really sure if the purple and the red would make mud, so I didn't really try to blend them too much. I glued the 2 panels together with Barely Arts liquid glue. I let the sentiment take center stage on this one and finished it off with these gems from Crafty Meraki. My 13th card is making flowers from the petals from the bottom and embossing the sentiment in the Cranberry Fizz color on the top. Super simple and easy. My last 2 cards are shaker cards that I made out of this fun petal background. I use sequins from my stash, and the images and the sentiment are from a freebie I got from Craft Stash, the Meadow Stamp collection from Rare Earth. And there you have it, 15 cards done and dusted from one Coverplate die. Leave a comment below to tell me which one is your favorite. I'd also really like to know if you like this kind of video. See you next time!